What if the life you are so carefully building, the one of safety, of comfort, of predictable pleasures and insulated routines, is not a fortress, but a cage? A beautifully decorated, climate-controlled prison where the bars are made of your own aversion to pain. You have been told that success is a life free from hardship, that happiness is the absence of suffering. And so you chase it. You optimize your career for security, your relationships for ease, your weekends for distraction. You build a perfect, seamless world designed to keep you safe. But then, in a quiet moment, when the noise of the week finally fades, a different feeling creeps in. A hollowness, a terrifying sense of meaninglessness. You look at the comfortable life you have assembled, and you ask a question that feels like a betrayal. Is this all there is? Today, we are not just talking about the price of a comfortable life. We are going to unmask a dangerous pathology it actively creates, a spiritual sickness diagnosed by a man who survived the most uncomfortable places on earth. His name was Viktor Frankl, and his warning from the depths of Theresienstadt, Auschwitz, and other camps was not about the obvious horrors of suffering, but about the hidden horror of a life without it. He saw that the drive for comfort, for a life of pure pleasure and zero tension, does not lead to fulfillment. It leads to what he called the existential vacuum, a state of inner desolation, of profound boredom and despair. That is consuming the modern world. This is not just a philosophical idea. It is a diagnosis. And by the end of this journey, you will not only understand why your pursuit of happiness is making you miserable, but you will discover the one freedom that no circumstance can ever take from you, the key to forging meaning even in the darkest of nights. Because Frankl's timeless message is that life is not primarily a quest for pleasure or a quest for power, but a quest for meaning. You have been lied to. From the moment you could understand language, society began programming you with a simple, seductive equation. Happiness is the goal. Every advertisement promising bliss in a bottle, every social media feed curating a fantasy of effortless joy, every self-help book whispering the same promise. Do this, buy this, achieve this, and you will be happy. This idea is the central pillar of the comfortable life, the unquestioned dogma of our age. It is the pursuit of a state of perpetual contentment, a life meticulously engineered to maximize pleasure and minimize all forms of pain, friction, and struggle. This philosophy finds its modern roots in the work of Sigmund Freud, who argued that humanity is governed by a fundamental pleasure principle. For Freud, our instinctual engine seeks only immediate gratification and the avoidance of unpleasure. In his view, civilization itself is a vast, complex negotiation with this raw impulse. It seems logical, does it not? Why would we not want to feel good? But Viktor Frankl, staring into the abyss of a Nazi concentration camp, saw with brutal clarity that this was a catastrophic misreading of the human spirit. He was a witness to an existence that was the polar opposite of the pleasure principle. He saw men stripped of everything that constitutes a life: their families, their professions, their homes, their dignity, even their names reduced to a tattooed number. In that meticulously organized hell, where every moment was a calculated assault on the body and soul, the will to pleasure was a sick, hallucinatory joke. There was no pleasure to be found, only gradations of suffering. And yet, some men endured. Some, against all logic, found a reason to get up for morning roll call in the freezing dark, to share their last, precious crumb of bread, to hold on to a sliver of human decency. What drove them? It certainly was not the pursuit of happiness. It was something far more powerful, something that burned like a hidden flame in the deepest part of their being. Frankl called it the will to meaning. This is the first crucial fracture in the foundation of the comfortable life. Within the crucible of the camps, Frankl discovered a profound psychological law. Happiness, like a delicate butterfly, cannot be pursued directly. The more you chase it, the more erratically it flutters away. He wrote, with the authority of a survivor, "Do not aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it." For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued, it must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, or as the byproduct of one's surrender to a person other than oneself. Think about that with crystalline focus. The very architecture of a comfortable life is designed to hunt down happiness and trap it, to make it a predictable outcome of a controlled equation. But happiness is not a target, it is a shadow. It only appears when you are walking towards something else, something that matters more than your own emotional state. Consider the scientist, toiling for years in a laboratory, facing constant failure and frustration. Her fulfillment comes not from a moment-to-moment feeling of glee, but from her absorption in the profound challenge of the work itself. The happiness of a breakthrough ensues from that dedication. The parent who feels a deep, resonant joy is not pursuing a feeling. They are wholly dedicated to the monumental task of nurturing another human being. The joy arrives as an uninvited, welcome guest, but only when the house of their life is already filled with the purpose of that responsibility. The comfortable life reverses this natural order. It makes happiness the destination, the singular objective. And in doing so, it leaves you in a state of perpetual, neurotic striving. You are transformed into a relentless auditor of your own feelings, constantly asking, "Am I happy yet? What about now? Is this experience maximizing my pleasure?" This hyper-intention, this desperate, inward-facing focus on the self, is precisely what makes genuine joy impossible. You become an archer so obsessed with the idea of hitting the bullseye that you never actually release the arrow. The danger, Frankl warns with chilling precision, is that a life dedicated solely to avoiding pain and seeking pleasure is a life that misses the entire point of being human. It is a life that constructs a beautiful, pristine home, but leaves it completely empty, leaving you to wonder why the echo of your own footsteps is the only sound you ever hear. This cavernous emptiness has a name, and it is the true, insidious price you pay for your comfort. There is a peculiar form of dread that haunts the modern soul, a low-grade hum of despair that is unique to our era of unprecedented comfort. Frankl gave it a clinical name, Sunday neurosis. It is that palpable feeling of depression, anxiety, and aimlessness that sinks in when the frantic pace and structured demands of the work week come to a halt. On Saturday night, you anticipate the release. By Sunday afternoon, the distractions cease. The emails stop pinging. The professional deadlines recede into the distance. And in that sudden, deafening quiet, the existential vacuum opens up right beneath your feet. You become acutely, painfully aware of the lack of content in your life, the gaping void where a sense of meaning is supposed to be. This is not just a fleeting boredom to be cured with another distraction. It is a spiritual crisis. It is the signature sickness of the comfortable life. The existential vacuum is the direct, logical consequence of a society that has become too good at protecting us from tension. We have systematically removed or outsourced the challenges, the struggles, and the elemental hardships that our ancestors faced daily. We no longer have to hunt for our food. It arrives in a box. We no longer have to build our own shelter. We have mortgages. We no longer have to defend ourselves from immediate physical threats. We have institutions for that. This is, in many ways, a triumph of civilization. But in solving the ancient problems of survival, we have inadvertently created a new, more insidious problem, the problem of purpose. Frankl observed that human beings have a fundamental need for a certain amount of tension in their lives. Not the negative tension of distress, but the creative tension between what one is and what one ought to become. Frankl called this dynamic noödynamics. It is the taut string of the bow, pulled back by the archer's hand. It is the tension of striving, of reaching for a distant goal, of serving a purpose that transcends the self. This is the dynamic force that gives life its shape, its forward momentum, and its significance. The comfortable life, by its very definition, seeks to eliminate this tension entirely. It offers a state of placid equilibrium where all needs are met. But a human being is not a closed system designed for stasis. We are dynamic beings designed for growth, for struggle, for transcendence. And what happens when this healthy, orienting tension is removed? The psyche, deprived of its external pole of meaning, collapses into itself. The result, Frankl argued, is the unholy trinity of modern despair: depression, aggression, and addiction. Look around you with unblinkered eyes. The epidemic of depression is not just a matter of chemical imbalances. For millions, it is a spiritual starvation, a soul crying out for a purpose. The startling rise in aggression, whether it erupts as road rage, online mobbing, or senseless violence, often stems from a place of profound powerlessness and frustrated meaninglessness. And the scourge of addiction, to substances, to digital entertainment, to pornography, to work, to anything that can temporarily numb the void, is the desperate, frantic attempt to fill the inner emptiness with an endless stream of external stimuli. This is the bleak landscape of the existential vacuum. You feel its pull when you find yourself scrolling endlessly through social feeds, consuming terabytes of content but feeling no actual nourishment. You feel it when you binge watch another television series, not out of genuine enjoyment, but out of a compulsive need to silence the questioning voices in your own mind. You feel it when you chase the next promotion, the next purchase, the next fleeting relationship, believing it will finally fill the hole, only to find the emptiness is still there, waiting for you patiently on the other side. The comfortable life provides you with an endless supply of sophisticated anesthetics. But no amount of anesthetic can cure a disease of the soul. The most dangerous part of this condition is that the vacuum weakens you from the inside out. Frankl saw its deadliest manifestation with his own eyes. In the concentration camps, the prisoners who were most likely to perish were not always the physically weakest. They were the ones who had lost all sense of a future purpose, a task to complete, a loved one to see again. They were the ones who said, "I have nothing more to expect from life." Once they lost their why, their how became physiologically impossible. Their immune systems would sometimes seem to shut down, leading to what modern medicine might term give-up-itis or psychogenic death. They would die, not just from starvation or typhus, but from a complete surrender of the spirit. This is the ultimate, terrifying price of a comfortable life. By insulating you from all forms of productive suffering, it allows your spiritual core to atrophy. It leaves you utterly unprepared for the day when real, unavoidable suffering inevitably finds you, and it will find you. Illness, loss, betrayal, failure. These are not optional components of the human experience. When your fortress of comfort is finally breached, when the anesthetics fail and the distractions are stripped away, you will find yourself hollowed out, with no inner resources, no spiritual muscle, and no transcendent reason to endure. You will have spent your entire life avoiding the very experiences that were meant to forge your strength. In the end, you will have traded the resilience of forged steel for the exquisite brittleness of untouched glass. So what is the antidote? If the relentless pursuit of comfort is a gilded trap, and if suffering is an unavoidable part of the human condition, how do we escape this cycle of quiet despair? Frankl's answer is not a simple platitude. It is a rebellion. It is a radical reorientation of your entire existence. His solution is not about finding a magical, pre-packaged meaning of life waiting to be discovered under a rock. It is about understanding that meaning is not something you passively receive. It is something you actively create through your responses to the world. Frankl taught that we can discover, or rather, forge meaning in three primary, concrete ways. Each one is a direct, frontal assault on the core principles of the comfortable life. First, by creating a work or doing a deed. This is the path of contribution and creativity. The comfortable life is fundamentally about consumption. It relentlessly asks, what can the world give me? What pleasure can I extract? The meaningful life reverses the question entirely, asking, what can I give to the world? What unique contribution is mine to make? This does not have to be a masterpiece of art or a world-changing invention. It can be the quiet dedication you bring to your job, transforming it from a mere paycheck into a craft. It can be the garden you tend, the support you offer a struggling colleague, the unimpeachable integrity with which you conduct your business affairs. It is the act of pouring yourself into something beyond your own immediate gratification. It is the profound acceptance of responsibility. Some modern thinkers powerfully echo this principle, emphasizing that true meaning is found in shouldering a heavy burden, in voluntarily taking on the most significant load you can carry. Comfort seeks to shed all burdens. Meaning tells you to find the right one and lift it with all your might. Second, by experiencing something or encountering someone. This is the path of connection, appreciation, and most importantly, love. The comfortable life often reduces relationships to a form of transaction for personal gratification. What can this person do for me? How do they make me feel? But Frankl, tempered by loss, saw love in a much deeper, more challenging way. He saw it as the ultimate act of seeing another human being not just for who they are, but in their fullest potential, and in doing so, actively helping them to actualize it. It is the courageous act of surrendering your own ego for the sake of another. While freezing and starving in the camps, Frankl kept himself alive by holding on to the luminous image of his wife, having intense, detailed conversations with her in the privacy of his own mind. This love was not a sentimental feeling of pleasure. It was a disciplined, spiritual anchor. It was a commitment that transcended his physical circumstances, giving his suffering a context and a purpose. But it is the third path that represents Frankl's most profound contribution, for it deals directly with the grim reality of unavoidable suffering. When you are faced with a fate you cannot change, an incurable disease, the irreversible loss of a loved one, a crushing professional failure, you are still left with one final, inviolable choice. Frankl called it the last of the human freedoms. It is the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. In that moment, when action in the world is blocked, your life is no longer about what you can do or create externally. Your potential for meaning shifts entirely inward. The external predicament becomes an internal test of your character. Can you bear your suffering with dignity? Can you transform a personal tragedy into a human triumph? Can you find meaning not despite the suffering, but because of it? Frankl witnessed men in the camps who, facing their own death, comforted others and gave away their last piece of bread. In their suffering, they became more than they had ever been in their comfortable pasts. They chose not to be passive victims of their fate, but to be active masters of their inner response. They proved, in the most extreme laboratory of the human soul, that even when everything is taken from you, your spirit can remain sovereign and free. This insight is a powerful echo of ancient Stoic wisdom, particularly from Epictetus, who taught centuries earlier that the chief task in life is to distinguish what is in our control, our judgments, our will, our attitude, from what is not. This is the ultimate rebellion against the tyranny of the comfortable life. The comfortable life teaches you that your well-being is entirely dependent on external conditions. Frankl teaches you that your meaning is entirely dependent on your internal decisions. It is a terrifying responsibility because it removes all of your excuses. You can no longer blame your circumstances for your inner state of despair or emptiness, but it is also the most liberating truth in the world because it means that you, and you alone, hold the key to your own meaning, and no one and nothing can ever take it away from you. We have come to the end of our journey, but to the beginning of your own. We began by asking what the price of a comfortable life was, believing it was some future cost to be paid. Now we see the devastating truth. The price is paid every single day, in the silent currency of a hollowed-out spirit and an atrophied will. The comfortable life is not a solid foundation for happiness. It is the fertile breeding ground for the existential vacuum. It is a grand societal system designed to make you pursue a phantom, leaving you exhausted and empty, wondering why the promised land of perpetual contentment feels so much like a sterile desert. Viktor Frankl's legacy, forged in the fires of unimaginable suffering, represents what one might call a Copernican revolution of the human soul. For Copernicus, we believed the universe revolved around us. The prevailing modern ideology insists that life should revolve around our personal demand for happiness and comfort. Frankl's revolution is to shatter this egocentric model. He forces us to stop asking what we can expect from life. This is the question of a child, the question of the entitled consumer, the question of the comfortable soul who believes the world owes them happiness. Instead, he insists we must turn the question around 180 degrees and recognize that it is life that is asking something of us. Every day, every moment, life is posing a question to you, and your actions, your choices, your attitude, these are your answers. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to be challenged, to be tested, to struggle, and to grow. You are here to answer the call of a specific task that only you can fulfill. The true, ultimate danger of a comfortable life is that its constant, low-level hum of pleasure deafens you to this call. It lulls you into a spiritual slumber from which you may never awaken. To break free is to consciously choose tension over equilibrium, responsibility over ease, and meaning over happiness. It is to finally accept that suffering is not a bug in the system of your life. It is a feature, and it is the very feature that allows for the creation of depth, character, and genuine strength. So look at your life. Look at the walls of comfort you have so carefully constructed, and ask yourself with unflinching honesty if they are protecting you or if they are imprisoning you. The path forward is not to seek out pain for its own sake, but to stop running from the productive, meaningful suffering that life inevitably presents to you. Embrace the responsibility that calls your name. Love with a depth that demands sacrifice and transcends feeling. And when you face the inevitable darkness, remember the last of the human freedoms. Choose your attitude. Choose your way. If this message has stirred something within you, if you feel that call to rebel against the silent tyranny of a meaningless existence, then you are not alone. This is not just a channel. It is a community of individuals who are choosing to live deliberately. So write in the comments, "I choose my why." Affirm your commitment not to a life of ease, but to a life of meaning. And continue this journey, because the path to a deeper existence requires that you never stop asking what life demands of you. You have been warned of the price of comfort. Now, go and earn the rewards of a meaningful life.